Compass Mining is your trusted partner in Bitcoin mining. Whether you're investing in one machine or thousands, our customizable solutions are tailored to meet your needs. We are your experts in Bitcoin mining, offering a platform where individuals and businesses can purchase hardware, host machines, and access a range of ancillary Bitcoin mining services. We also specialize in large-scale site development and data center operations. Discover more at compassmining.io and see how we can power your success today. Hey miners, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, the official home of power mining analysis. Here we have it, Monday morning. Trump's tariffs were officially announced over the weekend. That's obviously having some big implications on the equities this morning and of course the price of Bitcoin. We saw a big pullback Sunday night heading into today's trading. We've seen a great recovery with Bitcoin surpassing 99,000 already this morning. Very interesting dynamics in the market, and that's what we're going to be discussing in today's video. Before we get into it, take a second, smash the like button, you guys. Big help to myself and the channel. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to join and let us know in the comment section below if you were making any buys this morning, if you took advantage of this pullback, and your outlook in light of these newly announced tariffs. Now, with that being said, let's get into today's video. Okay, guys, so that's right. Monday morning, a very exciting weekend and start to the trading week. Before we get into it, though, Anthony, on a serious note, some unfortunate news came out on X over the weekend. Our good friend DR Lewis, he's been on the channel multiple times, a big voice in the Bitcoin community, unfortunately running into some health problems over the weekend. As we understand right now, still okay, recovering, but we did want to send out our thoughts and prayers. Obviously, a member of the community that we look up to and respect on the Power Mining Analysis show.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had DR on the show 2 or 3 times already this year. He's very popular in the space, provides a lot of content. He, like myself, he's a veteran as well. So put the uniform on for the country. Did his time on that, and we wish him all the speedy recovery. Thoughts are with the family at this time as well. It can't be easy for those as well, but we hope he has a speedy recovery. And hopefully, we'll get to see him in March when we travel over to Miami, because I know he's based in Florida. So that was really looking forward to doing that, and hopefully that will be able to occur. But yeah, thoughts today definitely with the family and DR himself. Speedy recovery, mate.
Most definitely. And a good reminder, Bitcoin, obviously a big focal point. Health is even more paramount than Bitcoin. So a good reminder of that, and best of wishes and recovery to DR. It seems, Anthony, all of these big news stories happen to break on Mondays or Sunday nights. A big weekend. We had Trump officially announcing his tariff strategy involving Canada, Mexico, China. Bitcoin took a big reaction to the downside here. Markets were selling off. After hours trading or pre-hour trading Sunday night was looking dismal for the miners for Bitcoin. Lo and behold, here we are Monday morning. We've seen a bounce or recovery in the price of Bitcoin, the miners, and starting to see some discussions or strategies from these tariff agreements with these various nations. So much to unpack. It's only 11:20 a.m. Mountain Time Monday morning, and it feels like the week has already been going for a long time. Anthony, what do you make of this tariff news over the weekend?
Yeah, it came a little bit out of the blue. Obviously, it was aimed at pretty much everybody. We expected China to be on the list. China have already been hit hard already, so this was like an additional 10% on the tariffs they're already paying. Then it's come after Canada, which I was fairly shocked considering the relationship the two countries have. Mexico's never been on his Christmas card list really, so you could expect something's happened down there. But then he's also gone after Europe and to a certain extent the UK, although he says the UK's not performed as badly as Europe. And I think the words he used was, for what Europe did, it was like an atrocity, which quite strong language for a president to use against, against the largest economic community in the world, effectively the European Union. So what are your thoughts on this, Bryce?
Yeah, definitely coming out of the gates strong here, only a few weeks into his presidency. Now, you and I were chatting, Anthony. We'll get into the price of Bitcoin in a second, but negotiation tactics. Trump is known for being a man that can make deals. He's obviously a strong businessman. He's done a lot of negotiation in the past. You and I were talking, this may be more so forcing these companies to the negotiation table rather than ultimately looking to implement these tariffs. We've seen Mexico respond. We've got a delay now on those tariffs. Canada as well initially slapped counter tariffs on, started to pull American alcohol off our shelves. Messaging to buy Canadian was going on here. Now Trudeau has talked with Trump today. Sounds like they have another meeting. So a lot of these situations, similar to DeepSeek, almost a knee-jerk reaction. Now we're starting to see some negotiation. What do you make of this strategy here?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. We sort of looked at this and thought it was more of a negotiation tactic, and rightly so to get people around the table. He might come out of this with a little bit of a win in terms of getting some things his own way, but what he suggested over the weekend was probably never going to work. And, bear in mind, you got to remember the amount of energy that Canada give to the USA. I mean, I think, even reduced the amount of tariff on the energy because he realized that's a big issue. So, but I think Canada were quite strong yesterday. I listened to one of their senior members of their team, and they turned around and said, this isn't the right way of going about it because we could equally do the same reciprocal arrangements, and nobody wins in this instance at all. So, the US are a large economy, the largest single country economy in the world, but the European Union has nearly 600 million people living there, and two of the top five largest economies in the world, in likes of Germany and the UK. So not something to be just told how to behave and what to do. But I think negotiations probably the way it will go, and there'll be some backwards and forwards now, and he'll end up coming out saying he's achieved this, this, and this, and within his first 3 or 4 weeks, 5 weeks, by the time the conversations are finished, he'll have ticked something on the box that he will have achieved. And these presidents and prime ministers around the world, they always reflect on the first 100 days in office, and he's trying to obviously make the first 100 days look like it's a roller coaster. He wants to try and achieve everything the first 100 days, and maybe he can then get back out on the golf course and play golf for the remaining part of his term. So we look forward to look forward to this, but it's nothing. It's nothing less than was expected. I mean, we saw what he was like in his first term. Things happen. He's not one for sitting around all day. He'll be getting deals done, and this is an opportunity now. He's got 4 years of his term left to go, and he'll want to try and achieve as much as he can. So let's see the outcome of this. But I think it's more of a knee-jerk reaction at the weekend, just to get those conversations started. And I'm sure he'll have a strategy of how he's going to benefit from those conversations.
Yeah, agreed. And like I say, coming out of the gates, guns blazing here. Now, you talk about a roller coaster. That's a good transition into Bitcoin price. So, obviously, global markets, equities, currencies, meme coins or altcoins. We saw Solana, we saw XRP, Ethereum taking major dives last night, Anthony, especially the pairing ratio between Ethereum, Bitcoin, an all-time low. Bitcoin itself held up relatively well. I think it was down anywhere around 7 to 10%. Some of these other altcoins, 20-30% in a 24-hour period, which is just insane when you think of the market cap. However, Bitcoin did drop, I think, into the $92,000 range. You and I both took the opportunity to buy Bitcoin over the weekend, which was great. Looked to be off to a bad start this morning. Miners in pre-trading again were down double digits. But lo and behold, Anthony, Bitcoin again showing its resiliency, now back above $99,000 US. Exactly like what we saw last Monday, essentially just skirting off this bad news.
Yeah, and bear in mind the Bitcoin mining stocks have reacted as well as not just the mining stocks, but the Nasdaq, the broader markets. Following this announcement about the tariffs over the weekend, the miners that were impacted this morning, Marathon Digital, fell 7%, Riot declined by about 8%, and Core Scientific, Bitdeer, CleanSpark all saw their share prices fall between 5 and 8%. But you're quite right that the Bitcoin price has started to recover. It, I think, got down to 91,000 at its lowest. I think I woke up this morning a little bit too early, caught the price, and was like, oh my! And I sort of like closed my eyes again. I thought this is volatile plus at the moment. So, but the softening of the news today about Mexico and hopefully Canada has meant that these reductions have somewhat recovered. The Bitcoin mining price, as you say, is now up over 10% from where it was at its low in the day. And but the likes of Ethereum, I think Ethereum would still have to increase by 25% where it is at the moment. It has recovered a little bit from where its lows were, but a further 25% to get to where it was yesterday before these announcements came into play. So that just shows you how some of the other stocks or some of the other coins have been behaving. I mean, the resilience of Bitcoin, we've seen that over the last few cycles. You're going to get news stories, some big macroeconomic news stories impacts. When we had the wars start in the Middle East and in Ukraine, that had a negative impact on Bitcoin. This weekend was no different. It does react to news, but then we get a full version of what's happening. We can see that it can also recover as quickly as it went down. So hopefully it'll continue to recover, get back above that 100,000 mark, which it's been holding for quite some time now. That seems to be a nice baseline and move on up because the Bitcoin mining companies need it to get above that 105,000 mark. That was the position at the end of January, so we don't want it decreasing lower than that for the end of February and end of March because we want quarterly earnings for the first quarter of 2025 to again be green as we expect them to be for the last quarter of 2024 as the miners start producing those earnings pictures over the next few weeks.
Compass Mining makes Bitcoin mining accessible to everyone. Start mining in as little as 48 hours with our turnkey hardware, online and mining directly to your Bitcoin wallet within 2 business days. Find out more at compassmining.io and get started now. Yeah, it's a good point you bring up. So CleanSpark actually coming out with earnings on the 5th of February. So later this week, we've got Ben Gagnon and Bitfarms on tomorrow. That's going to be a big interview. And then you talk about some of the cycle timing towards the 4-year cyclicality of Bitcoin. We had Mike Alfred on Friday, Anthony. He gave some great insight to his prior cycle knowledge, where he sees opportunity in the miners right now and outlook for the remainder of 2025. So some big interviews on the channel. Now, I mentioned you and I were purchasing Bitcoin over the weekend. Bitdeer also adding to their newly created HODL. So they've acquired 50 additional Bitcoin on the drawdown this weekend. That brings them to 787 Bitcoin in their HODL. And then as regular or as promised, we've got the Bitfarms production report out on the first business day of the month with some strong growth in terms of operational hash rate, up 19% month over month.
Yeah, interesting you bring that up there. And, the operational hash rate that they're quoting, which is the end of month energized hash rate, so how many machines are plugged in, did reach 15.2. Bear in mind, they had to delay that target, which they had in place for the end of 2024, which was 21 exahash. That's now been changed now to 18 exahash by the end of June 2025. And Bitfarms have given a reason for that, and effectively it's due to the T21 issues that they've had with regards the miners they have there. So a reduction in growth target due to T21 underperformance, and therefore they've brought their guidance down 14% to 18 exahash by the end of June 2021. However, they are still focused on getting their energy efficiency down, and that did reduce down by 5% in the month of January from effectively 21 joules a terahash down to 20 joules a terahash. And they have an energy efficiency target of 19 joules a terahash, which has remained unchanged. So irrespective of the fact they're not going to get to 21, they're going to get to 18, they'll still achieve that efficiency target. And we've talked many times on the podcast what that actually means in terms of Bitcoin production, because if you've got low efficiency, which they have at the moment, and have even lower efficiency, and a low price to mine, which again, Bitfarms have got fairly low energy compared to peer miners. That helps with the cost to mine a Bitcoin, and that's most important metric that a miner needs to be aware of, how much it's physically costing to produce. In terms of their output, they produce 201 Bitcoin in a month. That's down from 211 in December, but bear in mind there was an increase in the difficulty for January, although towards the end of January, actually difficulty came back down. So across the month, there was a very slight increase. But bear in mind, we're talking now about month of January, where miners have had to curtail a little bit more due to weather conditions, due to local demand. So that will impact miners in the month of January, as we saw it do in the month of December as well. So 201 Bitcoin produced. That's 18 Bitcoin per exahash. They've increased their power capacity now. So in December it was at 324 megawatts. They're already up to 386 megawatts. In terms of Bitcoin sold, they only sold 42 Bitcoin in the month, and they've added the balance of the production to their HODL, and their HODL now stands at 1,152, an increase from 934 Bitcoin at the end of December. And that valuation, if we take the end of January, is valued at $121 million. So, they're building up a nice treasury position as the Bitcoin price, rallies and goes through this, what we see now as a bull cycle.
Now, Anthony, we have Ben on tomorrow. Obviously, some of the big questions are going to be around Paraguay, the sale of that 200 megawatt facility to Hive. What are some other questions we've been receiving or looking forward to asking tomorrow during that interview?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it will be around, opportunities in North America. So yes, having sold that site at Yanzhou to Hive Digital for a total consideration of around about $85 million, which includes some prepayments that they made in terms of energy contracts. But that $85 million back in the treasury will help them start to expand what they're trying to do in North America. So they've got these sites now in Pennsylvania, which they've purchased. They've also got the Stronghold mining sites that will become, once the transaction's complete for that purchase, become under the umbrella of Bitfarms. And they want to obviously utilize the power in these sites. I mean, we're talking about a company that, are hopefully going to have, by the end of this year, 675 megawatts energized. So as I was highlighting there, at the moment, 386, so nearly, double where they are now, or at least another 300 megawatts coming online by the end of the year. So that's significant growth. What they're going to use that power for, that's definitely one of the questions we need to get Ben to, because obviously he's now highlighted the last couple of podcasts, they've got an interest now in looking at HPC. And when you consider now literally 95% of all the miners are looking at HPC, with a great number of those miners already producing revenues or about to produce revenues in 2025 with contracts already signed, and we expect more contracts to come forward, in the next few months. So a lot of questions around HPC. We also want to get his understanding, more about why, he's still, he's leaving that particular area in Paraguay. They're still operating in South America, so they've got sites in Paraguay and in Argentina. What's going to be the expectation or the strategy for those sites there, and what does he see in North America that other miners are not seeing at the moment? What's his view on the state of affairs in North America for those sites with significant power providing that optionality. So we'll get into the detail of those and hopefully can provide a little bit of colour to that conversation tomorrow. But looking forward to it. Ben's always great on the podcast, always well received by the retail audience. And yeah, it should be a great podcast like we had last week. We had a couple of great podcasts last week as well.
We most definitely did. So as we close out here, Anthony, Bitcoin 99,800, just below the $100,000 threshold. It seems that psychological wall, we continue to go back and forth over or under. But a great day, a great way to start out the week. And despite that tariff scare Sunday night, it appears that we may be able to find a way through this, as you say, Anthony, through some of these negotiations that are currently going on. So let us know in the comment section below. Did you manage to hold strong? Did you buy the dip this morning? I saw a lot of people on X last night, unfortunately, Anthony, getting shaken out, selling their positions in after hours trading at big losses, and I can only imagine the feelings they're having this morning. So let us know what happened to you guys, your outlook for the remainder of the week here, and if you have any questions for Ben and Bitfarms tomorrow. Thanks so much. We'll see you back here then.